What's up, everybody? It's the 30s Perspective. This is your girl, Sherelle Unique. Whoop, 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 whoop. This is B Mike over there and Alicia Page in the
What up?
podcast
What
building.
up? Right?
All right, so tonight's episode is on church hurt. Well, let me start by saying this is religion part 2. And the top
check out part 1.
Episode name. Yeah, check out part 1. It was the benefits of religion. And part 2 now is church hurt and the negative aspects of religion. So here we are.
Amen.
We all can speak on this topic for sure. But we're going to get with our icebreaker. And I had an icebreaker in mind, but that debate went on last night. So people want to.
If that's what you want to call it. If that's what you want to call it.
Look, I didn't watch it. So.
What? That's right. You're not into politics. You should watch it because that last night, that was a whole battle.
You didn't watch it?
No.
It wasn't politics last night.
I hate politics.
It wasn't politics last night.
I don't want no parts of none of that foolery.
That was 2 grumpy old men going at it.
Exactly. I'm not watching that.
I cannot. I just
That's a great movie.
I just couldn't.
It's embarrassing.
It's more than embarrassing. So Brandon, for a person who's watched it, what did you learn? What did you learn?
I didn't wait. I didn't learn anything about either side because I'm pretty well versed on both the shit. I didn't learn nothing.
Because I've learned some stuff.
Did you learn something? What did you learn?
Okay,
that you didn't know already.
I learned that I need to go get my rake and I need to rake up the forest and pick up all the trees so we can.
Is it the leaves from the billion trees that Trump plans on planting? Mm-hmm. A billion trees!
No. This is the trees because it's being the forest is being mismanaged.
Oh, okay. Metaphorically, I'm talking about Trump planning on planting 1 billion trees. Where the fuck these trees going? What the... He gonna have to cut down trees to build 1 billion trees. Like, there's just not... He wants to put 1 billion trees out. That's what he said when he was asked about global, warming issues. Like, he was going to plant 1 billion trees, and he wanted the skies to be blue and the oceans to be blue and, amber waves of green. He wanted...
Listen, my brain hurt after watching this debate last night. My brain hurt so bad. And I was just like, this is not something that I really want to get into because I have so many things I could say.
Last night's debate was crappy and entertaining for me, so I can say that.
I'm enjoying the memes that come from.
Right, but it means 10 times more when you watch them in person. There's so much.
That's not funny to me. I ain't gonna say it's not. Yeah, it's not funny to me. It's a circus.
Circus are fun. You don't like circuses?
I don't like that. I don't like any of that. But the memes, I'm here for. That's funny, haha. And that's it.
No, that whole thing, man. That whole thing was extra. And I'm looking forward to the next debates. I know that next week's gonna be boring with Kamala and what's his name? Pence. They're gonna be boring, yo. They're gonna be so regular political debates, structured and
I don't know. I've never been into politics, so I don't know what to say about it.
Hey, Hillary's on.
Yes, she is. So, Yeah.
All right. Well,
What else you got to say about it?
I mean, my favorite moment of the night is when when Biden had to tell Trump to shut up. That's my favorite moment. Overall, it was horrible.
We were talking about that at work.
Oh, that part.
That was my favorite part.
That part.
He said, "Will you shut up, man?"
All right.
And then, you cannot tell me, like, the part where Trump started talking about Biden's son, like, his whole face.
Yo,
his
I
whole face.
was waiting for Biden to be like, cut the camera.
For real, like, his face was, fuck this presidency, fuck this debate, fuck the cameras, don't give a shit, say something else about my son. Say one more motherfucking thing. Yo.
Cut the camera.
Go ahead.
Cut the camera.
Yo, his whole face, like, it's like, go to commercial right now.
Like, I'm gonna hop over this plexiglass.
He don't care about no Secret Service, none of that shit. In fact, he's like, yo, the Secret Service like me better than you anyways.
I told John, I was like, Biden should just walk over there and punch him in the face.
Yeah, it was about to be a thing, yo.
Hillary,
and walk off.
Hey, Hillary.
Hi,
hey, y'all.
How did you feel about the debate?
Oh my goodness, I didn't entertain that for too long. I didn't even allow it to entertain me for that long because
it entertained me. It was awesome.
I didn't watch it, so I understand.
Listen, I don't know how you didn't watch it. I had to watch it just so I know what I already know.
Well, me and you like boxing matches, so I mean.
Well, that too.
I like boxing matches too. I was the one who first mentioned boxing on that episode.
All right, so grumpy old man, that's the thing to watch.
Listen,
Two grumpy old men to say. Walter Matthau and Jacqueline and grumpy old men on stage.
I wish.
This is grumpy old men on Broadway. That's what the fuck.
I wish somebody would have went ding, 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 and then threw boxing.
That would have been awesome. Biden would have won. That would have been awesome.
Alicia, do you have an Avengers
night clothes on?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I do. I'm a kid at heart. Whoa.
All right.
Sorry, my husband is a kid at heart.
And you support it. I love it. Look at you. You team. You just part of a team. A team of pages.
What you want me to do? Ain't nothing I can do.
No, that's exactly what I want you to look at that. That's awesome.
He got matching ones too.
Is it? Wait, does he have them on right now? If so, he got to come to the camera, yo.
No, he ain't got them on right now.
Y'all gotta wear that together. That's what y'all gotta do. All right, more important question. Who's your favorite Disney villain? Sherelle, go. Who's your favorite Disney villain?
Scar.
Yo, I was gonna say that.
All right, I got a follow up for y'all when we're done. Though,
I like Scar, and I like Cruella.
That's what I was gonna say. Cruella
DeVille. Yeah.
Or what is the Ariel? Not Ariel.
You mean Ursula?
What's
Ursula? She's dope.
The Sea Witch.
Ursula. The Sea Witch. Ursula.
I like Ursula because she's often played by a black woman.
But her image is based off of a white drag queen.
Disney, just be
really?
I'm not joking. I can share the article with you. I'm not even like making a joke. Like that's for real. That Ursula's character, like the physical appearance, is based off a drag queen, a white drag queen.
I can see it.
And Ariel's based off Alyssa Milano. I will send that all out to y'all. Yeah, this type of goofy, weird trivia shit I'm into. Just movie shit. But I gotta go with my man right here, the Shadow Man, is my
Oh.
favorite.
From
Princess and the Frog, man. That's Dr. Facilier. It's the Shadow Man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
So my follow-up question to y'all, and I do this with a lot of friends of mine. If you put all the villains in one room for a battle, who would win?
Disney
Like
or
this.
just any villain?
Disney villains, not any villain. Disney villains. All the Disney villains, one room to battle it out. Who y'all know is gonna be the victor in that fight?
May the odds ever be in your favor. I don't know, because I kind of like Javar.
You think Jafar's
Oh,
gonna be all the other
Jafar.
villains?
No, I don't think they beat them all out. Out of all the Disney villains,
I know who's at the top and I know who's at the bottom.
I mean, I'll go for Voodoo Dude because he's dealing with some other spirits. So
He is powerful. He's gonna last.
but
He's gonna
I would
last a
also
good while.
I would also go with Ursula because she has an advantage over everybody.
Yup, she is. It's the sister of Ariel's dad, like Poseidon type of thing. Gotcha.
Right.
I still got that beat though. As to who would be the victor in that battle.
I don't know who you say, Brandon.
It's gonna be Poseidon from Hercules. The god of the underworld, he's gonna tear up everybody. How you gonna kill the god of the underworld? That's his realm.
Hercules killed him.
We're not talking about heroes though.
It doesn't matter.
Talking about other villains.
It doesn't matter.
Now at the bottom of the list is Han from Frozen. I hate Frozen. Frozen's horrible. He's at the
I
bottom.
don't think Frozen is that terrible.
Like,
I feel like Frozen isn't for kids. Does anybody feel like that?
what kind
Not
of
that
Frozen? What Frozen did you watch?
Not in the sense. Not in the sense that there's anything bad in it. I'm saying that it's kind of just real serious. It ain't like kiddie. It ain't like in your face. Like, you know how a lot of kid movies are overstimulating. They got a lot of whimsical stuff going on. I felt like it was like real serious and hard.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the era. All right, so we definitely had some dark movies in our childhood. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like Mufasa was killed. Bambi was like abandoned. Like it was bad. And you know what? To be honest with you, Geppetto don't give a fuck about Pinocchio. For real.
Bambi wasn't abandoned. Something happened to her parents.
The parent. Wait, so the daddy wasn't there. His mom got killed. And then y'all can't even tell. What's the plot of Bambi? Someone tell me the plot.
Yeah, but
there's
that
no
don't
plot.
mean he was abandoned.
There's no plot.
Abandoned.
He's out there with Flower and Thumper just fucking around the woods for a while, and then his dad shows up like, all right.
Did any of you see Coco?
Yeah.
I saw Coco. Yeah.
Talk about a dark movie, like
exactly. Another dark ass movie.
That's one of Audrey's favorite movies.
It's a beautiful movie, great movie, but it is so dark. Like, woo.
That movie's dark. That movie.
Hillary, have you ever seen Coco?
It's worth watching.
Is it a cartoon to tears?
Yeah, it's a cartoon.
Hillary, it will bring a grown person to tears. Like, this dude I used to date, he's the one that had me watch it because he's like, yo, you gonna cry, right? He cried watching it.
It's a cute movie, but like, I think it's like the whole plot behind it is too advanced for kids.
It hits the heartstrings on an adult level, like, damn, really?
Right, like y'all
gonna do him like that? Y'all gonna
watch that tonight?
Yo, y'all gonna do him like that though? Damn.
I like Coco. Grandma. It's just Coco. I think it's a little bit too advanced, just because it talks about the Day of the Dead. Like you talk about.
Well, all right. So it depends though, because if you're part of the Mexican culture, that's like that. Since you're a kid, that's part of the thing. As an
Right,
American,
but
it's like,
that's
nah.
not an American thing, though.
But it's not
Like,
Halloween, though. That's a completely, like, a different, respectable holiday.
no,
Like,
no, I'm not saying that, but like the Day of the Dead is talking about you're praising people who are dead. I mean, like you're trying to celebrate people who are dead, and these
you
kids
are,
are dead.
no. Like, you're honoring. There's different. You put an honor to the
Oh,
people.
okay,
It's different.
okay. Excuse me as I misspoke. Honoring those that have
Honoring
died,
them. Honoring.
but it's just like I think it's a bit advanced for
It is. It would scare the fuck out of me. Like, if my picture's not on the mantle, then I die forever.
right.
Oh,
like,
oh
and then you
no.
don't get to like
Whoa.
you don't get to come over and celebrate with your family on that day because
Yeah,
nobody
no.
really likes you.
To
and put
me,
your picture out.
that means I'm gonna paint my mural as part of the wall. Don't y'all paint over it.
Right.
Guarantee I'm gonna be there when I die. Like,
Right. I'm gonna cement my picture in the wall.
yo, but Han is horrible. You know what? For me, and maybe it's the era that we grew up in this 30s perspective, the villain gotta have a cool ass song. You can't be a good Disney villain without a song. Han didn't have no song, nothing. Everybody that y'all mentioned got a cool ass song to go along with their villainous nature. Whether that's Scar or Ursula or whatever, they all got their cool song. Han ain't had shit. And he was horrible on top of it. Like, you gotta have that whole vibe, and he ain't have it.
Why that movie ain't one of the faves?
Amongst us, no. Amongst the kids that came out when they love Frozen.
Mhm.
It's just one.
All right, so to the topic.
Uh-oh. I was trying to avoid a horrible, depressing topic.
Man, Brandon, don't sound so like
to bring it up.
It's called Church Hurt.
Church hurt and the negative aspects of religion.
Oh man, let's start with the 700 Club, yo. Let's do this.
All right, so what are the negative aspects of religion? Let's start there. Like, what could there be? Because some would argue that there was nothing negative.
Nothing?
To say.
They lies. Ever been in a church with no air conditioning?
Huh? Shut up, crazy.
You don't tell me that there's no negative? No.
That was a good one. Everybody has been in church with no air conditioning.
Right. And they give you the little fan. They got prayer hands on one side and Martin Luther King on the other side, and I'm supposed to be cool with that.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm good, yo.
So I think when it comes to religion, we think of like a negative aspect of religion as a whole. No, I would say sometimes there's that idea that you should not question the religion that you practice, or you shouldn't delve any deeper than what they tell you. And I think that's a negative aspect where you can't branch out sometimes just to gain a deeper understanding or a deeper faith.
Yeah, man.
Believe it's not really encouraged to delve any deeper than what is given to you by the people who gave it to you. So I think that's and that's with any religion. Oftentimes, like they don't. Yep. It's usually frowned upon. Like I think that's a big negative in some cases.
It is. They don't even want you to know in depth the faith of other people. Like I'm to me, I kind of consider me I'm my personality type is extremely curious, and I just love learning new shit. Even if I like learning conspiracy theories that don't make sense, because I'll be like, somebody believes this? All right, what's it about? And like I'll listen to them like, this is horrible, but I'll still be curious to listen into it. And even if it makes great sense and it helps people, like other religions, I mean, people really get involved in it. So I still want to know what someone else's culture is about. And a lot of religions discourage you just like knowing other human beings in their element, in their lifestyle, and their religion. And I think that goes against what religion is supposed to be about the whole loving thy neighbor is not condemning their religion. That's not, to me, it doesn't even go together. But hey, maybe that's just me.
Well,
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think that it all depends on what religion you're in. So there are different religions that are culturally accepted religions. So when you get into the cultural religions, we're talking about some communities that this is the norm, and it's a social norm because it's not necessarily my faith or what I believe. It's just what is socially accepted in my area, my neighborhood, my culture, my family. My family went to this church, so I'm going to this church. So this is socially what is accepted within my family. But then when you talk about the negative, I mean, what y'all's talking about is actually the agent of control.
Yeah.
That people try to use in religion, and they use religion to control when religion was really just to organize. It wasn't to control nobody, but they done took the law, which was to help bring some control to what was going on, and mixed it in with organization and merged the two. And so now they're trying to bind people with law and organization and make people feel okay about, because we need organization and coordination. But that's my whole spin on it is that religion, because if you look up religion or religious in the Bible, it's only in the Bible a couple times. I think it's mentioned like once in the New Testament, and it's mentioned in the Old Testament, and Jesus he refers to it, and it's not positive the way he refers to it, because he's talking about how their religious ways. So like religion itself is a man-made thing, and it's not God. It didn't come from God. God didn't speak that, and people use that to control other people.
They do. Think about the Crusades, man. The Crusades was all about forcefully spreading Christianity through war across the world.
Hello. Where do you think America came from?
Right.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Religion was everything is based around religion. Even slavery was based around religion.
It was justified by an Italian priest about why Africans are obligated to serve white people.
Right. And not only that, but like how they use religion to control. So it's like, oh, well, God wants you to serve your master. Excuse me? Want me to serve my who, master? You're not being obedient. Like, wait, what? Like, to who? To you? Oh, white Jesus. He wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I still believe that like religion is used in that aspect.
It is, especially along the Bible Belt. That's a big thing.
Right. And that's why, like, if you've seen when this whole pandemic went down, we can just look at recently when this whole pandemic went down, the Bible Belt said, no, we're not. I don't care what you got to say. We're going to do this. And guess what they did? Just that.
And died.
Yeah, like, well, but what I'm saying is like they control, oh, there's no need. And then even like the whole thing with the churches. When the pandemic hit, oh, we're not shutting down church. We're not shutting down anything in the Bible Belt. That's what they said. And they went to church faithfully and nobody said nothing to them. It was a story for
except for the Grim Reaper when they died.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, Brandon, I'm just saying. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about that. I'm just saying.
Oh.
We won't talk about the consequences of their decisions, but
No, that was wrong. It's called church hurt. In this case, the church hurt them. That's what happened.
Well, they hurt.
What is it
they
called
ain't here no
again,
more.
Sherelle? Church hurt and
Church
the
hurt.
negative what?
And the church hurt. This is all about church hurt.
Church hurt and the negative aspects of religion.
That's in parentheses. This is called Church Hurt. It's the name of the song. And we're going to release that
You
soon.
sound like you got a lot of church hurt, brother.
I got a lot of things.
What's going on, brother? What's going on with that?
All right. Let's start here.
Well, first off, before you start, what is church hurt? What is church
Let's define
hurt?
it.
For the viewers,
church hurt.
Go ahead and define it and then go into whatever you was going to say.
We're talking about the negative impact on you, not only spiritually, but mentally, emotionally, and for some people, even physically, that having organized religion, whether it's in the church or otherwise, that has been a negative experience and negative impact, and normally pretty much traumatic. It can be very impactful for people to have this negative influence that's been either restrictive or harmful. So that's where we're at.
By who, Brandon?
Okay, so that could be by the church family, whether it's the clergy. That could be your church leaders or religious leaders. We're not trying to be Christian specific, but it could be by religious leaders or the members of that religion. Very often, it's the politics and the members of that religion that can also be extremely damaging to an individual.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're at with the church hurt.
So would you like to start?
Well, my first thing in terms of church hurt, we talked about control of information, and extreme influence. There's not an encouragement to either ask questions or go beyond. Now, asking questions for clarification possibly, but asking questions that are opposing to that religion can be very confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if there's actions against that religion, it's even more confrontational and supportive. But my initial thing, because I told you earlier, I'm very curious about everything. I have an issue personally with people that take like the King James version of the Bible word for word, like letter for letter. Considering the history of the Bible itself, because not only has it been translated and composed and it's been filtered through, a society is very patriarchal, like a patriarchal society where, okay, we're going to make sure that God's a man. We're going to make sure that the heroes in the Bible are men, and of course I wasn't around then, they may all be, but just considering that filter, not only with the fact that the Bible's also been filtered through places like the Vatican, where we already historically know that there are books of the Bible that are restricted from the general public. So they've taken out parts of the Bible. I feel like there's a lot of the story missing. You can't get a full picture of what you're following with missing information. And to me, that's extremely damaging, because now you are following something without an understanding. And we know that there is a big impact in a negative way when there are people that are blindly following something because they don't have all the information, and they would adjust their dedication or not be dedicated to something if they knew the entire truth about something. So I feel that there's missing information for Christianity in particular, and I would like to know what that is. I don't know about y'all though, but y'all may have something different. But to me, that's the first part of the damaging part, is information being restricted and altered and changed and manipulated and translated with wrong translations and all kind of stuff, because the first Bible wasn't English. So
See, my whole thing with that though, Brandon, is like we don't know the whole truth, but that
yep.
is what your faith is supposed to come into.
Uh-huh.
But I also, you know, I take you take interpretations, what however anybody gives it to you, and you put your own spin on interpretations of what
Right.
people say. So, but you know, I believe also that um when it comes down to church hurt with certain things, I I personally didn't like it being used, the Bible being used against me.
Yeah.
So when I say that is a
We're
friend.
kind of on the same page though, because what I'm saying is there are people who will use church scripture word for word.
Well, when I say use it against me, meaning that like, you know, they take one interpretation of it and then they use their interpretation of it to use it against you. So hear me
Yeah,
out.
there's that too.
So what I'm saying is that, you know, we all sin and come short, right? We're not perfect, but my imperfections does not mean that God does not hear me. That does not mean that
Right.
I am unreachable. That does not mean that just because I don't go to your church no more doesn't mean that I'm not blessed. So like, you know, I that's what I don't like about when it
Yeah.
comes to interpretations of the Bible, is using
Right.
it, because we all fall short. We're not
Mm-hmm.
perfect. If we were perfect, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty close to it, but you know, I'm just like,
Right. I
but
mean,
no,
yeah, I
I
got
don't.
you.
Those interpretations are what hurt, because it's like,
They
you
are.
know, we all go through trials and tribulations. We
Yeah.
all, you know, stuff like that. So when somebody tells me that just because your interpretation of it and you feel that you are here and I am here,
See, it's that holier than thou
right?
mentality.
So it's, you know, I look at people, and you know, I look at it as, you know,
Oh.
we all have our trials and tribulations. We all go through things.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not going to judge you any differently because that's what you go through. And I'm not going to say that you're unreachable and that God doesn't hear you because you.
Glass houses and stones, man. That is.
So that's my, when it comes to church hurt for me, that's my interpretation of it, is that you know, I have a relationship with God.
Yeah,
And
and
that
that's
does
no
not
one,
mean that I
no one
have
else
to
to
be in a
define your
building to
relationship
have
with
that
God.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, you know, that's,
and some literal stuff, like the whole Leviticus thing, and all kind of like people take word for word. I'm like, does that even make sense to you? Like, I get, and they come
So
at
when
you
it comes
sideways.
I got these other two down
when it
here
comes
on the
to
bottom of
church,
my screen that I haven't said nothing yet. Sherelle, you up?
yeah. So when it
Okay.
comes to church hurt, um, in my own personal experiences, for me, it was more so a feeling of you're not good enough and you're never gonna be good enough. And um, we are
Oh,
we are a clique that hang together. And in order to be in our clique, you have to do this, and this. And if not, then you are going to hell, or you are completely ignored,
Mhm.
overlooked.
yo,
Your gift is not good enough because we have other people who we've been using who bring about a certain
money,
atmosphere or reaction. Not
money is a
money,
reaction.
Brandon. You're adding in your own story into mine. And that's not what I'm saying. That's not my thing.
Money.
But they usher in the spirit, or they bring in about a certain reaction or energy And so we're used to these people. So you're not good enough because you're not one of these people and we don't know you. So it's always this dismissive behavior that just makes you feel as if you're not good enough, and as if God is unreachable if you're not doing what we're doing. Mean girls type of energy. And I really don't want, like, there's a lot of church bullies who some don't even realize they are. Some do, for sure. Some don't even know that they are church bullies.
I've dealt with church bullies who were the pastor, man. The post is supposed to be the leader, and they the bullying one. Dealt with that.
Mm-hmm. I feel you on that, Cheryl. I never looked at it before in that terminology, like a bully.
Oh man. That's for sure.
It's like, you know.
If you're not praising the way they praise, shouting the way they shout, worshiping the same way that they worship,
putting in as many hours as they put in,
coming in and they're looking at you different, they're treating you different, or they even claiming that you don't have the Holy Ghost,
spreading rumors, making up shit.
Yeah, so like that's the kind of church hurt that I've experienced. And then also just feeling like I don't belong. Mm-hmm. Like you feel lonely in a room full of people because you don't think or look or act like any of these people.
You're right. When the donation line, the tithe line starts at $500. I don't fit into that church. We're going to start the 500 line over here. I don't fit in with y'all. Here's my dollar. I'm 14 years old. I'm 14. Here's my dollar.
I never feel uncomfortable with that. You're going to get what the God has told me to give. That's just what it's going to be.
Obviously, Brandon, like, you've had some money running with church.
Man, yeah, because so often
you keep talking about church hurt and associating it
with money. Like, for real. All right, so here's what I want to say. She's talking about, people not having the talent. The talent brings the feeling. The feeling loosens the pockets for the collection plate.
Brandon, that's not what I'm talking about.
But it doesn't make it less true.
Nothing to do with the collection plate.
It's all about the collection plate.
No, you took it there. That's not what I said.
The church took it there. Okay. Yo, everything you say, I'm gonna find a way to collect it, connected to the collection plate. The connection with the collection. This is what it is. It's a lot of that.
Look, that's your church hurt. That ain't mine. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable in that. That does not bother me at all.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Personally, I don't believe in profiting from people's spirituality or their immortality within the Lord. I don't like that aspect. So that's just me. You can pray. For me, I believe in capitalism everywhere else. But like that right there is that's to me that is a form of bullying when you are telling people to pay money to get into heaven, pay a seed offering, doing the 700 club, like send me $50 and we'll make sure that God knows you exist and like all that stuff.
Hillary, come on now, it's your turn.
You just gonna put me out there like that, Lisa?
I sure am.
Oh, she must have some insider information.
I sure am. I'm gonna call you.
All right, let's do it. Let's do the whole star with the more you know right here. It's about to happen.
So my thing so first of all, I'm careful to say church because church is actually biblical. And it is
Three or more
not
people.
church, it is religion. And religion
More
itself has
people
gotten
here.
out of hand. It has gotten out of hand, and it became, like I said earlier, a control factor. You have a person who has a preference and sees an association biblically and takes his art of influence to control a group of people. Because if it really was about Christ, then we really wouldn't have religion.
I like her.
Because
See, I knew I like Hillary.
religion is not about Christ. Religion is about people. And then when you go into the different various parts of religion, the whole designs are not an association biblically. It is an association with a man or someone is generally predominantly male driven. Ego. Sorry, Brandon.
Right? No,
Ego.
no. I agree with you on this. I'm with you
Ego and
here.
pride. Pride. That's all it is. Because when you hear about even the greater, like the Church of God in Christ, they have gone through many divisions in their time. The Pentecostal world or Pentecostal associations of the world, the apostolics, whatever, the Catholics, you got your Orthodox Catholics, you got your whatever Catholics, you got your Presbyterians.
You got the Pope
of the world. You got the Orthodox this and the, you know what I mean? Like, okay, so but your base is Presbyterian, but you have to identify yourself differently. Somebody got mad somewhere and started this organization. And
you know what I'm gonna do?
Exactly. I mean, Alicia, we done lived that. We lived through that. It's like people get mad. This man got mad at this man. And so they created this organization. They split from this organization and went to that other organization. And then they don't talk to each other. So then they tell their people that these people are no good. They don't believe the right thing. When really they believe what you believe when you was with them, but now you believe something different. So now you want your people to believe the different version of what you know, and you want them to hate on what you used to be. So that's all you're doing. Like you're just that's all that is. And so I'm just like, I have come to the realization that number one, I'm not going to be identified by a religious body because that's not who I am. I will associate with some well, I'm a minister of music, so I do affiliate with some organizations, but I don't say I'm Baptist, I don't say I'm apostolic, I don't say I'm Church of God in Christ. I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, I believe in the Holy Spirit, I believe in being baptized, I believe in living a certain life, I believe in the whole spirit of reciprocity, because that's what reaping and sowing and reaping is. Okay?
Yep.
Everybody likes to call it karma. Really what it is what you sow is what you're going to get. So be careful what you do, because it's always going to come back to you. So I'm just like, but people have put a stamp on things to control people. And that's what I don't like. Is that you're trying to say that this is the staple for everybody. This is what everybody needs to do. But when you think about it, when God created Adam in the beginning, he ain't tell Adam, all he told Adam was don't eat from the tree. Okay? He gave him a woman, and that was it. And even when they sinned, he ain't put them in no religion, and he didn't tell them this is exactly what you got to do, when you got to do it. He told them what the penalty is, but he didn't tell them how they're going to live their life, because God never intended for anybody to be controlled. He didn't want to control man in the beginning. So, like, why are people trying to act like if you read about Moses only created the law because the people were asking him questions. So he went to God and asked God, what should he do? Because the people wanted to know, because they was in their own little mess. That's all that is. And even Jesus, they was coming at him all the time, talking to him and asking him questions. And he's like, man, don't y'all know who I am? Like, yo, I came so that you don't have to like do all of this.
But he was the guy with the answers though. Like, I would ask him a bunch of questions too.
I mean, yeah, but him just being in his very presence, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was Jesus' his response to a lot of, and I'm talking about the questions that were like the badgering questions, not the questions that were like, you know, legit, like, you know, what should I do to be saved? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or can you come in, you know, my daughter needs to be healed, or this man is in the tomb, can you heal him? That's different. But whenever everybody's coming at him talking about this woman was caught in adultery, well, okay, you caught her in adultery. How you gonna catch her in adultery?
When you are a sinner too.
Was y'all all there? I mean, come on, y'all. Y'all know good well. We know what goes on. You know, the trains be running. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know what was going on up in the room or wherever they caught her. They caught her. They caught her. You know what I mean? So it's like, ain't nothing new under the sun.
Nah, for real, it ain't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't know what they was doing back there. So it's like, okay, all right. So you caught her, but if you without sin, you cast the first stone.
Hey, glass houses, pocket full of
y'all
stones.
leaving now. Y'all backing up now. Y'all leaving, right? Because like y'all know good well what I'm talking about. So that's my take on it, you know. And people are looking for they're looking to be rescued, they're looking for hope, they're looking for an opportunity to be with people. I mean, come on, our world is all jacked up. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I don't believe in profiting off of that. I don't believe in profiting off of that.
Everybody looks for structure. But I think that, and because we look for that certain type of structure, every human looks for structure. So when we're down and we don't know which way to go, that's why we always end up at the church. And I'm going to say church because that's where we end up. And some type, if that's not in prayer, if that's not in showing up to the actual physical building, if that's not reaching out to a clergy member, if that's when we have reached our bottom, that's where we go regardless. It's a structure within us. So my whole thing, you know, I don't understand how you could take what is in us structurally and kind of use that against your own self, like use that against that person. So that was like because, you know, I have that, you know, like where when it comes to the church, I won't even say church, when it comes to the people in the church that do that, I can't. I physically, like, that just, to me, it's just like, I can't believe that you would take the word of God and use it against somebody who is struggling. Not only are they struggling, but they came there for help. They came to
Right.
the building or whoever for that help. And it's like you use that against them. So for me, that's where it is like, it's like, really? Like,
for real?
Look at them and be like, did God do that to you? Like, did he do that to you? No, he did not do that to you. But
that makes no sense to me.
You know, growing up, you know, there was a lot of things that I did not understand, and questioning was not the answer. Like, you couldn't question anything. You couldn't question, you know, if I as a human being, as a person, as an individual, if I had gotten understanding a clear understanding of why things were the way that they were, then I could, I probably could have rationalized with it better. But with the answer that
Yeah.
I got as it was, well, if you're not obedient to the man of God, then you are condemned. And it's
How are you supposed to learn anything this way?
like, wait, I'm confused because, I look back, even if you look back in the Bible, just biblically, and like look at like everybody that has gone through the struggle, and it's like, God has given them time and he let them come back. Okay, you're not
Oh,
let me say it again to you. Okay, you're not getting it. How long did they preach in the day of Noah?
the disciples of Jesus weren't perfect at
Oh,
all. Like when they got started.
It's like people want you to get it like that and understand it as soon as they say it and not question why they said what they said. And it's like, no, I'm human first, and I'm going to always question, especially now as an adult, like why people put these parameters on me as an adult. So, with that, growing up, in the church, and having those rules and regulations, and the very things that they say to you, if you don't follow them, you're being disobedient, and disobedience is a sin. So it's like, well, either way, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. So like, what do I do? It's kind of like you were just there. Like nobody gave you any clarification. So I didn't, that's one thing I just did not like. I did not like that. And and it's like, whenever you're trying to find who you are and where you fit in at, and people constantly just tell you that, and then it's like, well, you got to watch and pray. And it's like, okay, I still don't understand, but nobody's making it clear to me. Like, no,
I
nobody.
think part of it is, a lot of the church leaders, and I'm speaking generally, grew up in an era where you didn't ask any questions. You need to follow directions so you don't get killed, so you can just survive.
Sounds like a plantation to me.
They don't give you the grace and space to learn. And we grew up in a different era, where we needed to know a little more, because the dangers, there's obviously still dangers, but they weren't as like in your face. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna step outside and just die. Usually on a regular day, you don't got as many dangers, to face.
We were sheltered, so it's like, we were so sheltered that we couldn't see none of that. That's what I'm saying. Like, no clarifications were ever given. Like, I was so sheltered to the point where, like, a lot of things that a lot of people, like my husband's like, he's like, oh, you didn't do what when we were doing this X, Y, and Z at that age. And I was like, I was still playing with Barbie dolls when I was 14. I didn't know anything about sex.
And I think that kind of thing is interesting, because you got to be like a healthy balance of the two worlds. Because on one hand, you don't want them so exposed before their brain is even developed of what they're dealing with. But then on the other hand, you don't even want to be unaware of the demons you're trying to fight off. Like, if demons coming at you, you don't even know what they are. You never heard of them. You don't know what they can do, because you're walking around blind, and you've never heard of some of the things that's coming at you. So it's like a healthy balance that has to be created of the two.
So I kind of want to interject my truth in this situation, because regarding this particular topic, it's kind of a little bit different. The reason why I say that is because in terms of exposure to the secular world, I didn't have a lot of filter.
Oh, the secular world. Did you just call it the secular world?
The secular world, my realm, secular world. I didn't have a lot of filter on it, because my dad, he wasn't going to stop his media input and his actions just because I was around. what my parents decided to do instead was to teach me how to deal with the world. Like, hey, this exists, and this is a way to process that. The reason why I say it's a little bit different is because my dad was a PK, and because of his church hurts, we didn't go that often. We went like Easter and funerals, being honest. So it wasn't until I was a young adult that I even started to go to church regularly to even get in the culture of things. A lot of the hymns that people know just because they grew up with, I don't know. I don't know the words. I would make up stuff at church. Anytime I went with a friend, I had friends that would go. They would invite me to come to church. I'd be there and I would just make up words to the hymns because no one could hear me anyways. Cause I was just singing along and whatever. It wasn't my reality with things, and so my experience, because I'm 34, my experience in the church is only maybe 14, 15 years old, for real. Now, we would pray at home, but honestly, because of my dad's church hurt, he kind of kept me away. That's how I was sheltered from the church, but not the rest of the world. So I was watching, R-rated movies when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, watching, Nightmare on Elm Street type of stuff, whatever it was on. It didn't matter. But this conversation's more, it's newer to me than, say, some other topics we discussed. It's a different type of reality for me than, say, with Sherelle, who grew up from, the beginning with this. It's a different type of thing. I just wanted to share that so y'all know where I'm coming from. That's all.
I know me and Hillary just had a conversation not too long ago about, when we were talking about because a friend of mine that I grew up with in the church, she had a breakdown. She had a mental breakdown. And when I spoke with her, and this is where me and Hillary had came up with the idea. When I spoke with her, and she was telling me that because of the way that we grew up and not really we grew up in the church. So we didn't learn coping skills. We didn't learn how to deal with life, because we were so sheltered. We were sheltered from the rest of the world. So we didn't grow up learning these things. So she had said to me, she was like, I didn't know what to do. She was like, I was always taught to just pray. Whenever I had something that was going on with me, I was to pray. I was to go to my pastor. I was to go to talk to him if something was wrong. I don't go to anybody else. I go to him. And if I want to go to somebody else, then I have to ask my pastor if I can go to somebody else and talk to them about what's going on. So it's when she told me that, and then I was thinking about how things go on now, and sometimes how my first coping is to pray. And I didn't know at the time anything else until I went and sought therapy for myself. I had to seek therapy from a portion of my upbringing. I'm not going to say the whole thing, because I'm grateful the way that I grew up, because it made me who I am. But, I'm looking at it as, because of the shelteredness that I had, and she brought that to my attention, just thinking back, that's where it's at. I don't feel like we got the whole separation, the outside life. We just got church. We didn't get real life.
Yeah, there was definitely a disconnect with the application. So on one hand, you're singing these songs, you're learning these scriptures, you're hearing these sermons, and it is something to resort back to, is something in memory to remind you of what to do, but there's no real focus on practical like application. Like if I'm at the grocery store and this person cuts me off with their cart, how as a Christian, how am I supposed to correctly handle that? If I'm called a nigger, whatever, if it's just a real life situation, how am I supposed to handle that? Of course, I'm gonna pray because that's just a natural thing that I do. But I need to see some people who are Christians, real practicing, or at least, you know, and at least in my case, because I'm a Christian, I need to see you applying this and you telling me how. This is why I really love TD Jakes a lot, because he can break down the Bible in a way that I really understand it in a practical way. I like his preaching style, but that's one huge thing why some people don't have like those coping skills, because it's a lot more that can be added to your prayer and adding action to your prayer. And then I wanted to mention something else. Wait a minute, Brandon. There's a such thing as toxic positivity. And that's something that I would notice and still notice a whole lot with some of my, like, I don't even want to say just some of my peers, but with some church folk, is this toxic positivity where you act like nothing's wrong, where you pretend like everything is together because you know Christ, or because you go to church, or because you're affiliated in these groups. When you're really going through something, you pretend as if it's not. When they ask you, you say you're fine. There's a toxic positivity there sometimes when you're not being, because you're not being honest. When you're broken, you're not telling the truth. You're not telling your peers because you're trying to save face, or you're still showing up and you're still preaching and you're still giving when you have nothing to give sometimes, when you need to really just be sitting down and receiving. Like, I think all of that plays a role into church hurt as well.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's just rough. Like, I think some of the stuff is rough.
They don't allow you to be unapologetic, and they don't allow you to be vulnerable. Like, now I'm reaching a place where if I'm not all right, I'm about to just tell you I'm not all right, or just keep it real. Like, you know, I already know the end I know who I serve, so I know the end result. I'm gonna be cool, but today, I'm not okay today. And
Which is
if
very
I'm not
important.
okay today, I'm gonna tell you if you ask and you really
Very
want
important. So before we ask if you're okay,
I'm okay right now.
right.
But I'm just saying.
So part of this I want to ask, and this is with contradictions within the word. In the situations you mentioned earlier, I mean, do you do the eye for an eye, or do you do the turn the other cheek? Like, how does that work? All right. What? Sherelle, the question was for you. You left.
Oh, the question is for me. You want to know in those situations, what do I do?
Yeah, so I guess the question in general was about contradiction, which does bring a lot of confusion with how to handle situations. And you were talking about getting clarity on how to handle those situations. So what do you do when there's contradictions? Because I feel that leads to a lot of uncertainty and a lot of doubts when it comes to what to do with the teachings of religion, whether it is eye for an eye or turn the other cheek.
You have to do more research and look at the context in which.
But what do you do when you're not allowed to ask questions?
That's why I'm saying we live in an era where we have information in the palm of our hand. So we got to look at the context in which some of these scriptures were written. Why did this person say in this moment eye for an eye, and then why did this person stay in this moment, something else. What you have to do your research, and now we don't have to only rely on that minister that may not even have been able to read, or maybe that may have not had much life experience. We don't have to only rely on that anymore. We have resources in the palm of our hands going forward. And then we also, if you have a relationship with God, you can hear him speaking to you.
Oh man, that's the most powerful, kind of scary situation though. Like, and it's also awesome. Like, it's this weird situation where you've asked a question and you've gotten an answer, and however you receive that answer, that person or situation may not even know that's an answer directly from the source. It's a weird thing. I don't know if y'all experienced that or not, but I have.
What about you, Hillary?
What was the question again?
Ask God, he'll tell you.
No,
what would Jesus do?
We were just talking about, like, well, I had brought up the whole thing of like we didn't have a healthy balance between like real life,
like applying
right.
the word to everyday life application.
Right.
Listen, so some of these religions are, and some people don't like this word, but they are cults.
Woo!
They
Preach.
Gotta go.
Yo, your whole microphone clipped just now, Alicia. Like, your microphone shut off.
Did it?
I know Sherelle heard it. Your microphone shut off. You clipped just now so hard.
Can y'all hear me now?
I can hear Hillary, yeah, but Alicia just completely clipped. But she went cough.
That's what they are. They're cults. And when you really think about it, a cult it's an organization, and everybody is the same in the cult. They follow a leader. The leader instructs them on what they're supposed to do. Everyone is supposed to do the same thing. And then everyone only does what the leader says.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Catholicism, gotcha.
Right. So that's what it is, because it's not when we are called, when we are chosen, it's not in relation to a group. It's not in relation to a specific number of people. It's individual, because when you have your relationship with God, and in the end, when you have to answer to him, he is not going to ask for the Church of God in Christ to come forward. He's not going to ask for Baptists to come forward. He's not going to ask for Catholics to come forward, Presbyterians. He's not going to ask for the group to come forward. You is who he's going to ask to come forward. Therefore, the idea that in order to make it to heaven, or in order to live saved, or in order to be godly, lies within a specific religion, that's not true. That's cultish.
So, all right, I got a question for you, Hillary, because I have my own thoughts on this. What do you feel about the mega churches?
Mega churches.
Since you brought up the cult thing, I'm like, the mega churches.
I don't think mega churches are cultish. I think a lot more of the smaller ones are more cultish than mega, because mega gives you right. They give you tools to live by. They're not trying to be controlling. They're not trying to make you come to their church. They're not trying to say that if you go to another church, because they don't have to. because they're not reliant upon 1 to 20 to 100 to 300 people. They are self-sustaining because they know what they deliver, and their leaders focus on improving themselves so that they can help people. So I think a lot of the mega churches give you opportunity to be an individual. When the smaller churches, a lot of them suck the life out of you because you've got to pour into the church in order for the church to be sustained.
Here we go. That's a different thing, man.
You know, I mean, come on now. Like, if there was 5,000 men alone around Jesus, that wasn't even counting the women and the children. So if his group was that large on a regular, just following after him, what makes you think the crowds ain't supposed to be large like that?
Well, on me, though, I never had good experiences with large churches. Only because
why is that, Brandon?
That's because, you know, if you go to the pastor, the shepherd for consultation or guidance, and he's like, "So who are you again?" type of thing, like, where they go. If you don't know me, how are you supposed to help me? How are you supposed to help me now?
That's a preference thing, though. That's you wanting a closer, connected relationship with your leader, your spiritual leader.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I just gave him all my pinball money.
Too, Brandon, that is a learned culture preference, because if you really think about it, why do you need to be close to your spiritual leader? Because we have culturally been attracted to that type of relationship because we've been told that that's what your leader should do or how your leader should be. Now, going back to what you said earlier with slavery and things like that, we are still carrying on some ideas that are not biblical at all. Wasn't nobody close to Moses like that. Wasn't nobody close to Jesus like that either.
But we're supposed to be close to God, though.
God, right.
We can be close to God, but we don't need to be close to the man.
God ain't the same as your pastor. That's two different people. Two different things.
It's a cultural thing, because we've grown up to learn and understand that that's important. That relationship is important. However, but I want y'all to look at this too.
I want my Mr. Miyagi. I can't have my spiritual Miyagi.
Who said
Where's my spiritual Miyagi?
No, we just said it was a preference. And you can have it however, have it your way. It's Burger King.
That's what I want.
Did you hear me? I said, wags on and wags off.
Wags up, man. It's Burger King, Brandon. You can have it your way. If you like a close pastor, get one, sir. But that ain't really a reflection of the church. That's you and the preference you've decided that you like, and you need to go and find that.
Okay, because I don't want to be in a mega church where my section is like G7 and it's it's stadium seating.
Why does that bother you though? Why does it bother you?
It bothers me because,
and I have to worry about nothing else. Like, I would love to have gone to a mega church because I could go and I can worship in my own way. And
so why go?
And I could still have my own personal relationship without people being in my relationship.
Because you still need to assemble. You still need to assemble. You still need to have that ability to be able to come together and to.
Okay.
We were not meant to be alone.
Now, I said this on part 1 where my preference was Bible study, because I like to ask questions. And in the mega church, who am I supposed to ask? The person next to me?
Listen.
But that's why you need to go to Bible study.
Right. No.
Sunday morning ain't for your question. Unless you go to Sunday school.
Okay. So then what am I going for? I want to ask questions.
If
If
you want to
Alex,
ask
You
what,
come on
look,
Tuesday night.
Then you need to go to school.
Brandon,
cool.
Brandon,
Go to school.
you,
No.
yeah,
No.
like you can't
I don't want
blame.
any
Listen,
situation where I can't ask questions. If they
listen,
say something, and I want to be able to go,
Brandon,
hey, I
listen,
gave you $10 for I have a question. I
Brandon.
want to do that.
You
Yes.
caught up on that money.
If you can't,
I pay tuition. Can I ask a question?
Brandon,
What?
if you can't get mad at the church if you show up at a time where they're not taking questions. How you gonna get mad at the go when they're taking the question? If that's all that.
You're right. That's what I started doing. I stopped going. I stopped going for the Sunday show, and I started going when I can ask questions.
They've given you an itinerary. You know what times the questions are being asked and answered. So
You're right, and I went to those, but then they want to push. You coming on Sunday? Y'all ain't answering questions on Sunday.
Yeah,
Y'all answering.
Listen.
Y'all answering questions on Sunday?
Look, you're getting mad at them over a preference you had, and you going against the preference. If you know you like questions, stop showing up at the times that they don't have them.
All right, but you know what though? How about the guilt trip you get for not coming on Sunday if that's not when they're answering questions?
Why would they not invite you to come at the other events and that they're having?
It's not about inviting. I said the guilt trip with it. Like like at the very minimum, you're supposed to be there Sunday morning. When you come to choir rehearsal, which I was there, when you come to Bible study, which I was there, Sunday is game day. That is the showtime. They want you there on Sunday morning.
No, they just want you to be there, period. You look, they want you to just show up. If they can get you to come
on Sunday.
Can I say this?
They want you to show up, and you're speaking like a blanket.
Can I say
like
this?
a blanket assumption. Yeah, go ahead.
So, Brandon, you could go to church on Sunday through Sunday. Whichever day of the week that you want to go, you could go.
Oh.
But my whole thing is like, there's some people who have like spiritual leaders, like spiritual just people that they speak with and talk with about.
They got their Miyagi. I got you.
Right. If you have questions, which is one reason why why people assemble, you can have a spiritual partner, like somebody that it's like, hey, I didn't get that. Did you? Oh yeah. Well, you could talk to somebody, and I'm not just talking about anybody, and you know what I mean when I say that. I'm not talking about just anybody in the crowd. I'm talking about somebody who is they could be a minister, they could be a deacon, they could be, somebody that has studied the Bible and has been there. Maybe.
Yeah. Which I've had those people, but they've always been outside of church though. Now they've been associated with churches, but all that's been there though.
That's okay that they're outside of the church. It's okay as long as they're spiritually guiding you. They're not trying to harm you or trying to manipulate your views. Like especially if you guys hold the same views because you're in the same religion, whatever the case may be. Like, you know what I mean? Like whenever I have questions or concerns about anything, I'll ask Hillary. I'll ask my mom. Like, you know what I mean? Or I'll ask my grandma. I'll call my grandma and I'll talk to my grandma about it, But those are also people that I know that hold the same views as me and that, I can go to and I know that they're not going to misguide me. They're, they would uphold the word of God. So it's
and they're not in it for any other reason than your growth.
Right. So, I mean, I can go to church and I can hear the word of God. And I, like with a mega church, it's so nice to go in and sit down and just worship. You don't have to worry about anything else around you. I don't know about you, Brandon, but I grew up in a church where the pastor knew your name. So if you was cutting up, you wasn't paying attention, you weren't in service, you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing, he is calling you out. And if you
No.
down and he is
Yes.
not preaching, he will get up on the mic and he will
Mhm.
call you out.
Cool.
I've been called out.
So all right. So I've been in a church like that, and very early on, because I had a friend of mine I worked with who became a great friend of mine, and he jump started my spiritual journey when I became 19, and he brought me in cool, and very early on, I established a relationship with the pastor to say, hey, if you do some shit I don't like, I'm not showing up. And he would guilt other people into things, and he would call them out on stuff. But when it came to me, he didn't approach me that way, because early on I said, hey, look, if you come at me extremely aggressive and negative way, I'm not showing up. And I was like, hey, look, I'm 19. For the first 19 years, I wasn't there, not because of my own choice. It was my parents, but I don't have a problem finding my spirituality somewhere else. And he just didn't treat me in the same fashion that he even treated at the time having a wife. Like he would guilt her into coming. But when it came to me and things in the church, and I would volunteer. I was there religiously. I was there, holding a position in the church and putting in 4 days a week. But he did not approach me in the same
days.
thing. 4 days.
I had 6.
4. I got you. I wasn't doing that. It was not, and he knew not to even ask or press. I wasn't, because I just won't be there at all. So it was what my presentation to him was, I'm going to put in on this as much as I want to dedicate to this. You're not going to push me any further than that. At that time,
I did not have a choice.
Okay.
I did not have a choice. Even when I became the age of thinking that I should have a choice in choosing,
Uh-huh.
I gotta go to work. That was my excuse. I have to go.
There we go. My pastor told me to quit my job so I could show up more often.
Hey,
yep.
Speaking of that,
that ain't the job for you.
Like
if you can't be here, that's not the job for you. That was, but the money,
the money. To that where I was working overnight, and what was happening was I would work Saturday night into Sunday morning, and I was trying to
stay awake in church on Sunday.
Yeah, I would leave work, get
dressed.
Stay awake.
Try to stay awake.
Brandon, I can't.
Hey, I'm sorry. There's a lot of church hurt on this end.
I would leave work, get dressed, go straight to church and sing, and then I'm falling asleep by the time sermon is coming because I'm out of it because I worked all night. And I remember talking to First Lady about it, and she told me, well, sometimes you got to make sacrifices. And so when she said that to me, I didn't say anything back, but in my head, what I said was, you're the sacrifice I'm going to make. And at that point, that's when I start setting boundaries.
Take your power back.
Yep.
Now, with that being said, though, my mom will always say, it's your responsibility to see that you're fed spiritually. So, I had to reach out and seek God in other ways, but that was no longer in that moment. I've never let them make me feel like that ever again. I will be there in the flesh when I feel like I need to be there in the flesh.
Well,
There it is.
I didn't have that choice either.
Well, I was an
Man.
adult. I was a full grown adult.
Full ass adult saying, "Hey, look."
As a kid, I ain't had no choice. That's a whole nother thing. I had no choice as a kid.
I told there was my pastor. I had first off, he didn't want me to get my own place. He wanted me to stay at home until I got married. But
Church. God,
But I decided to get my own place. And
can you imagine if you would have stayed home?
No, I can't.
The way you got thrown down those steps.
Yeah, I got my own place.
Ebony, not your friend.
I was not, Jan. So
Damn.
I had a situation happen, and
Okay.
my sister, because I lived with my sister at the time, my sister told my mom told my pastor called me on the phone.
Oh, church gossip is his own church hurt. Go ahead.
And he told me that he wanted to see me. Now, at this time, my pastor lived in Ithaca, New York. He wanted to see me. And I told him, I said, Bishop, I cannot show up. I was like, I have to work. I cannot take off work this late a notice. He told me, just wait. What was that, Sherelle? What did First Lady say to you?
You got to make sacrifices.
And I said, Bishop, I can't afford to lose my job. And he said to me, if you love God, you'll show up. And I said,
oh, heck to the no.
No. Hell to the no.
What do you say to that? Like, what do you say to that? Because
say you want a percentage of the collection plate.
I understand, but in my mind at the time, I'm like 20 years old, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you know, I do love God, I do love Him, but I cannot afford to lose my job. Like, that is one thing I can't do because I have everything else that's riding on that. Like, so he hung up on me, and then
wow.
His wife called me, and I spoke with her for a little while.
Oh shit.
And at the end of that conversation, she told me, she said, you need to be obedient to what your pastor told you. And I said, okay. And that's where it ended. And
see.
But for me, I did not like that.
I'm so angry right now for you. Because you know what? They be the ones that tell you to quit your job and still want you to put in the collection plate. It makes sense.
But for me, where that went left for me, that was the last conversation that I had with my pastor before he passed. So for me, that hurt. That hurt to me. That hurt a lot. But, you know, it took time to get over that because, you know, I found out some things, you know, you heard some things, blah, 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 blah.
Whatever. There's always some things.
Mm-hmm.
Always some things.
He was going through it just like the rest of us, and I can't hold that against him. He was a human being. He was going through some things, and I don't hold that against him because we all go through something. Like, we all go through something in life. So for me, I don't hold that negatively against him because me and him had a really good relationship. We had a really good relationship up until that point, and, you know, but such is life. But, you know, it's like, it's things like that because I have grown to understand. I became an adult at that point you know, and now where I'm at, having my own child, like I can understand a lot more and have better understanding of some things, but I don't know. I can't condone everything.
So it's a question to all y'all, okay? And I definitely understand the story. This is a follow up when you of course you're saying you're finding out different things about experiences in your pastor's life. I don't like the holier than thou mentality, so I prefer, of course, when pastors are very honest about when they're honest about their journey as a human and the things they contend with and lifestyles they've led. I prefer that. What are y'all thoughts on that one? And like, do y'all prefer that? Do y'all like to see that the pastor's better in their decisions? Like, what do y'all prefer on that regard?
What you mean?
All right, so do you like to have the pastor that used to be a drug dealer or the pastor that has always been this great pillar of their religion?
I don't really care. I personally don't like when pastors share too much of their lives,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like this. First of all, shouldn't nobody be judging nobody, because you don't know when or what. You know what I mean? You don't know what. We don't need to know too much about the pastor, because we don't need to be knowing his business, because then that opens up for people to
Use it against them.
Right. And then not only that, but then that limits people in their growth as well. Because if you're an influence and you're a leader and people know like you went through all of this stuff. So if they did too, then that's just limiting them just to stay right here. Like, you got to take the lid off and keep the lid off. You can't put a lid on everything. So I don't too much care for, I praise God for some people that the things that they've been through and made it through, but I don't personally want to know your business. I don't want to know your business, because I don't want to be trying to compare my life or justify what I'm doing based upon what you done did, because God ain't gonna do that. He ain't gonna say, "Hey, Hillary, come on, Judgment Day. Your example was Judy. And so I'm gonna judge you by Judy's example." No, he ain't. It's gonna be Hillary, what Hillary did, what she didn't do, with what she knew. So I don't want to know your business. I mean, if you've overcome something and you're sharing, you're trying to relate the words so that I can understand it, so I can apply it to my life in reality, then I get that part. But nah, I don't want to know your stuff, because I don't want to be looking at you sideways neither.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think that's a part of just call, because a lot of people don't like when you go in those other churches, they don't be telling all their life business, but for some reason we think it's necessary for us to.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about the Pope.
Yep, no confessions. Okay.
Right. I don't know nothing about the Pope. I don't know nothing about him. I don't know nothing about, when it comes to, what do they call them? What do they call their their people? Not, they don't call them pastors. They call them what?
What are we talking about?
Catholic Church. They call them priests.
Bishops.
You don't know nothing about the priests. Not until somebody say that he touched me. That's the only thing that you know about them.
And that's why I said physical church hurt.
That might be the problem, though, because if that's all we know that they've done, and we can't speak for their character or anything they've been through, we can't say anything different.
Right.
For the for the ones that there's a rumor, this is a rumor, and this is not true. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. I know personally, I have mixed feelings about this. I personally, when it comes to a spiritual leader of my own, I want somebody that can relate to me. I want somebody that has been through what I've been through, or I feel like I can relate to them and their story. I want to know their story. I don't want nobody that is very private and coming to me with just the positivity of everything. I don't need that. I don't want it. That's me personally. So I'd rather know.
Well,
But
unpopular. I agree with you on that.
I'm not finished though. For a pastor, I don't believe that everybody in their congregation can handle that. So I don't want a pastor per se to do that. Like, for instance, like if you're running an Alcohol Anonymous class or alcohol, if you're running that class, you might be able to handle one drink. But the rest of the crew, somebody in that crew can't handle one drink. So
but do you want an Alcohol Anonymous class that's run by a person who's never had a drink, though?
What I'm saying is, personally for me, if you're leading me, I would like to know what you've been through, and I would like to know that there's a connection. However, I understand that can't be for everybody, and it's better that it's not, because everybody can't handle that kind of thing. Everybody can't handle that you've had that one drink. Now I think I can, and now I'm an alcoholic because I followed you. Like, it's not for I don't feel like that's for everybody, if that makes sense.
I hear you on that. I can
All right.
understand that. I'm
going to the point of understanding that.
I don't want to know everything about my pastor, but I do like to hear snippets of trials and tribulations that they have overcome, not your whole life story. I don't want to hear all of that. But if you can make it into a relatable situation, like I've heard it many times through different messages that came across the pulpit. So, where they didn't give us the whole story, but I've heard snippets of different things they have overcome. But sometimes that's needed, because it's like, okay, here I am. This is what I've been through. And look where I'm at now. And
that's what religion is based off. We're not getting the daily diary of Jesus when we're doing Christianity. We get the highlights, we get the summary, we get the lesson that's related to that situation. It's not September 14th Jesus was out getting well water. Like, it's not it's not the same thing.
I just don't want. I don't like to, and I think it comes from my past experience, because when you're looking at someone, and because there's a bond or a tie that's created that I don't think is really healthy when you're looking for certain things to come from your leader, because that's a person. It's not, that person's not God. They're not, they are just that. They're a leader, and they may only be able to lead you to a certain point. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing that comes from church hurt, that is a cause of church hurt, is that some leaders lead as if they are leading you all the way through from wherever your initiation is to your end. And I don't think that's good at all. Mm-hmm. Because then that means that we are entering into a bound relationship. And I ain't married to you.
Right.
So, that's really huge what you just mentioned, Hillary.
It definitely is.
Like,
that's huge.
Don't look at me like I'm your wife, because I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I'm not. And so some leaders look at members as if they're bound to them. Mm-hmm. Because
and vice versa.
Church, right, and vice versa. So I think that we create a a bond that's binding.
Mhm.
And then we find a hard time when things start happening. So when things start happening, then we're talking about church hurt and all this stuff, when really that relationship that you built was an unhealthy relationship. There's a Peter's, his last name starts with an S, Sclazario or something like that. He is a pastor in New York, and he wrote several books, and he also does these leadership conferences and conferences period on emotionally healthy spirituality. And he talks about all of that in his books. He talks about like growing. He talks about having spirituality and having the spirit and being emotionally healthy. Because these relationships and stuff that we done created over the years, they were not healthy. That's
Right.
why a lot of people ended up getting damaged and hurt and everything, because they weren't healthy. They weren't emotionally healthy. They were so unhealthy and toxic emotionally that people weren't able to stay, or they got hurt or something happened, because they're not healthy relationships. And
Yeah, I think people invest too much into the members as well, instead of investing your time into the relationship with God. Like,
right. Or
and
even
they
studying the
form,
word
right, and they form.
And
yeah.
that's why I don't go to mega churches.
Well, no, what I'm saying is I've never been to a mega church. I've been
What is why you don't go to mega churches?
I'm not going for the people. Why are there a bunch of folks? It's the same reason why I don't go to Kennywood on Penn Hill's picnic day. I'm not there for the people.
You
I'm
have
not there for the people.
no idea. I went to a church. I didn't go to a mega church. I went to a small church that had different small like churches around in different states. So when we got together for our big convention, there was roughly about, what'd you say, Hillary, about 400 people, 450 people.
Getting
And
nervous.
it wasn't a mega church though. It was small churches within an organization that came together at we came together for different times of the year, but one time a year we came together all together. And when I tell you that each pastor from each church, they come together, they know who you are. There wasn't a pastor up there that I come involved with that didn't know who I was. And there are 7 or 8, 9, maybe 9 or 10 pastors, different pastors
Cool.
all together. But what I'm saying to you is this, is each church, if not church, but there are groups of people that group together and click. They click together.
They
And
do, don't they?
one person from the clique didn't make it to the next meeting because they just weren't part of the organization no more. So then that relationship that you had with that person kind of like, because now that they're no longer there, it's almost like you lost your relationship with God because they're no longer there. That don't make no sense.
It don't make any sense at all.
You shouldn't be there for that person. You should be there for a relationship with God.
Exactly.
And a lot of that came down to a lot of that. What Hillary was saying, like whenever you start making these relationships with people that are unhealthy, and everything that you're there for in the church for is for them, and it's like you're coming for them or you're coming for whatever the case may be. And then now that they're no longer there, then the whole relationship drops. And then now you're saying that you got church hurt. No, you don't have church hurt. You have people hurt. People hurt you. So now you're mad at the church. And it's like, well, what are you mad at the church for? We're like, they're still here. They're not doing nothing. They didn't do nothing to you. The church didn't do nothing to you. That individual did something to you. So I think a lot of people get a lot of things misinterpreted when it comes to what church hurt is. And that was my biggest problem with people who said they were church hurt. It's like, no, you're not church hurt. You're people hurt. Like that person hurt you. So And it had nothing to do with the word of God. It didn't have nothing to do with the leaders. It had everything to do with the other people and other members around. And I don't solely base what quoting church hurt. I don't base that off of church hurt. I base my church hurt off of when you're using God, the word, and when this person that is supposed to be your spiritual leader, somebody's supposed to guide you, is using these tools against you. That to me is church hurt. That's my definition of it. A lot of people what I was going to say to you, Brandon, is that mega church thing. I'm telling you, I grew up when I growing up with these people and some of these, what did you call them? Holier than thou.
The holier than thou people.
When they in the mix, when they make their appearance, when those people make their appearance, it doesn't matter if you're in a mega church. It doesn't matter if you're in a small church. It doesn't matter if you're in a medium church. They're everywhere.
They are.
And sometimes it's worse. Sometimes it's worse at a smaller church because the boundaries are so crossed. And in addition to that, like for a person that wants to be closer to their pastor is so stretched because they have to play multiple roles within this smaller church. And so they can't fully give you what you need in entirety sometimes, and not all the time, just sometimes, because they're being so pulled and so stretched and so involved in everybody's personal life at the smaller churches. I want to speak something though to what Hillary said, because you had mentioned about like unhealthy relationships like with your pastor members. Like it made me think of they should be teaching you to be a leader. Like as leaders, you want to build up other good leaders so that they won't have to work so hard, so that they can take over going forward, so you know how to seek God when they're not around, and stuff like that.
It's egos though, in a way they want to feel they want you to be reliant though. Too many of them want you to be reliant on them. They don't want you to become a leader yourself.
Right.
I believe that for some people, I believe that for some people it's ego. I think for some people it's just ignorance. And just not knowing that maybe I should be showing them how to do this themselves, or taking my hands off, or do.
No, but then that takes that well, I don't want to say heroism, but it's where it takes you're taking away from them. They're needed. They feel like they're needed. So of course they're not going to. That was one of our biggest things in our church. It was like, hello, us young people, remember when all y'all old people die one day? We're the ones that got to take over, and y'all don't want to show us nothing.
They don't remember none of that shit.
Y'all want us to sit and be quiet.
I dealt with that too. I dealt with that whole
So it's like, they don't want to teach the next generation what's going on because they feel that you're not good enough yet. And it's like, then who's going to teach us?
Jesus.
All
right, Hillary, I got a question. Music ministry, and I've dabbled in that type of thing.
I don't know what that means.
She's in music ministry, she said. All right, here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been the reason why I've stopped working with gospel musicians.
Ooh.
Except for this gospel musician.
I got you though, but you don't do this. Do you feel that there are, as the whole anointed singers? That's the thing. You're anointed. Where there's so much ego going on with anointed singers that it detracts from what they are supposed to be doing, which is uplifting the people. And where, like, even a small example of taking like a 4-minute song and making 15 minutes long to outrun each other, where it's distracting from what the message of what they're trying to do. Have you encountered this situation as I have.
Who hasn't encountered that?
All right, there. Yes, confirmation.
But those are not anointed people. Those are just talented people.
Okay, I'll go with that. I will concur.
Because whenever they start getting that way, then you can tell.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, because you observed it, and then when you've experienced it because the anointing ran away just as much as they was running with whatever they was running.
They would
the
run
anointing
all the
ran
runs
away, and then the talent just
up and down the scale.
took
Shit.
over. Yeah, I don't. So my thing, because my kids sing too. I've always taught, and I still do teach that when it comes down to when you enter into the church to render or deliver, it's not your performance. It's not your time to perform. It is time for God to do a performance using your instrument. So when you open up your mouth, if you open up your mouth to perform, then that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be a performance. It's going to be whatever performance that you set out to release. But when you get there, and if you truly are under the anointing and the Spirit of God, you will not get there to have to put on a performance. I remember someone tried to tell me, oh, well, it is kind of, no. It is not kind of a performance. God does the performing. That's what it should be like. You should be allowing God to do the performance, but because you can't do nothing no way. And if you do get up there to do something, then whatever movement happens, it's not a move of God. It's just that you've been able to emotionally reach people where they are, and they were able to feel you.
See, she got it, man, because that's why I stopped working with a lot of purely gospel performers, not just singers, but other musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that reason right there.
And I think a lot of church hurt comes from those areas too. I think it comes from those areas in churches as well. It comes from that music department. It comes from, because that's a part of leadership as well.
Yeah.
That's a great influence on the people itself. And I think that a lot of church hurt comes there. A lot of church hurt comes from pastor, parishioner relationships that are unhealthy.
Uh-huh.
A lot of church hurt comes from ministerial misguidance and misconduct and stuff like that.
Misconduct, that's a good word. I like that one.
A lot of church hurt comes from that. I mean, because if you really, like Leisha was saying, like, we got relationships, we in relationships every day. We see people, we at work, we see people out in the community, we interact. We don't stop living in our community. Well, sometimes we don't, but we don't stop usually living in our community just because we had a certain experience with somebody, or we don't call it community hurt or whatever. It's just a part of life. But when we get into the church, we call certain things church hurt. But I think a lot of the hurt comes from those emotional experiences. And we really do got to be careful with who we build emotional relationships with, because it could be damaging.
All the way agreed. I'm glad to hear that. I'm happy to hear that from Hillary.
But we gotta remember, Brandon, you have a responsibility as well to utilize your gift. Your job is not to be like the police of what other people are doing. If they're stealing money from the church, if they're singing a song and it doesn't have the anointing, you can't tell God, well, I stopped because they was doing.
No, that's why I told you before in part 1, which y'all should watch. In part one, I said that I prefer traditional gospel because true traditional gospel didn't have auditions. The people in the choir wanted to be there and use their voices to uplift the message and God. Like there wasn't auditions for the choir. If you wanted to go to choir practice and be there for the performances, you were there, and that was it. And to me, like, that's the best feeling, though. I don't necessarily have to have the most perfect voices for the contemporary gospel they try to get now. I don't need that. I don't want that. Like, I don't want to have this feeling of you are there because your voice sounds great versus you being there because you have the passion to do it. That's on me.
I have mixed feelings about that because in some cases you got to know what your gift is and what it's not.
But I'm not gonna tell someone no, they can't try out being in the choir. You try it out, and it's like if they enjoy it, I enjoy it. If they enjoy being in the church choir, if you see, all y'all have seen that person that technically sucks at singing, but has like the biggest like passion for doing it. I'm not gonna tell that person they can't worship God with that passion. No.
Well, that's why I say I have mixed feelings because you can definitely worship God and usher the Spirit in, if you have an honest heart and that's what you love to do.
Yep.
But there are certain arenas where you can't do that. Like you not everybody can be a professional at certain things because that might not be the lane that you were called to be in. Now, do you love to worship? There's levels to this. Do you love to sing and praise God? Yeah. That don't mean you need to have a microphone.
You're right. You don't need to have a personal mic if you want to be in a crowd of 100 people, and then you can blend in with them.
There's time and place. So
I'm not saying give them a solo. Not at all. Like,
there's time and place. There's time and place.
You know that. I'm not telling them give them a solo, but there are people that they will refuse in being a part of the group, whether they have a passion for it or not, whether they feel a calling. Well, again, if you're a personal relationship with God, no one else can tell you where you're supposed to be. Like, go ahead, jump in. Now, in terms of guiding, whether they're an alto or a soprano or a tenor, or God forbid, a choir with a baritone or a bass, then cool. You can say, hey, look, let's push you over here. That's fine. But to tell them, no, you can't be in this. This is not your thing. Do something else, and they have the passion for it. I don't have the heart to tell them to sit down. I don't.
There's
not for that.
a way to go about certain things. I think when you're a kid, that's what like kid choir, the kiddie band or whatever, you take that time to mold them, shape them. If you see that they don't have it, then you can kind of, you are great at this, and this. Try these things. Let's see what you're good at over here. You don't necessarily have to tell them that they suck at the drums. There's a way to go about it. And then if they just love it, you give them their certain days to do whatever, I don't know. But I feel like before we get off of here, we need to talk about Brandon's favorite topic, the money situation in church.
Yep. Let's go with that. Who's going to start it off? I'll start it off. Church shouldn't be about money. That's it. Church shouldn't be about money. Like,
I don't even know what you mean by the church shouldn't be about money.
So I have experienced situations where I have felt that a big part of the church's purpose was to fundraise and generate money. And
Oh,
where, okay, so part of this is the order of service. That's the first thing I think about. There's a few things to this, but the order of service. There's a reason why the collection plate is passed around the time it is. It's passed around when the emotion involved in the spirit of the church and the Lord is at its highest. That the collection plate is passed around. There's a reason why it's not passed. It's not a, hey, when you come into church, put your money in the plate and then go sit down. It's not passed around at that point in time. They wait until you are your highest point before they insist on getting the collection. I feel manipulated by that.
You feel manipulated. Why?
I do, because if you, all right, so if you go to a concert, a regular, not a church one, like a regular concert, do they wait until the hit song before they give you the, admission? Like, no. And before you get in, pay your money, here's what it is. But in church, it's different, though. They wait until either the height of the choir or the height of the word from the pastor to say, hey, you're excited, you are emotionally invested, you're feeling at your spiritual highness for them to, like, say, hey,
Brandon,
that tithing should happen.
I could understand you if you went to my church, okay?
When do they pass collection plate around?
Fund for a building that has never been built.
Okay, all right. So then that feeds into it. That feeds into it. There we go. So that way, all right, when I'm talking about the tip of the iceberg, okay? Because there's that, though. There's that. There's that. All right, we're trying to raise money for the something fund. The building fund for something that you never see the fruit of the tree, labor, whatever. You never see the end product of what they're raising money for.
I've never had a problem with giving money to the church.
My problem is this. I don't want to feel like I'm paying for my salvation or paying for my eternity. And then when I've watched programs like the 700 Club and some of these programs, and they're like, where it's like, okay, you pay $50 and you get into heaven. Your seed offering that you gotta give money or else you're not getting into heaven.
I personally, Brandon, I've never heard of that. But I've never seen it. I'm not saying that
you ain't watched BET right after the whole Uncut.
But
that's what they say. That's what happens.
What I'm saying is that, like, I actually got an explanation on the money portion.
What's that part? Go ahead. I'm ready. Ready. Go ahead.
Because the church, there is no fun. Like, for instance, like our one church that we had, they wanted their pastor to be at home. They wanted their pastor to just solely be their pastor. They did not want him to work. So they paid for their pastor to be just a pastor. There goes your money. Not only that, but you have the regular everyday expenses of a church. Churches are nonprofits. They don't.
Here's a question: what kind of house did your pastor live in after that?
The pastor that was in a regular house. He lived in a double wide. It was
all right. So the church I was at, the pastor was in like an 8-bedroom house.
So was my other pastor, but that was his house prior to becoming.
No, it wasn't prior to anything.
Listen,
what difference does the house he lives in make? Like, I feel like the focus of that is so wrong, and I'm gonna tell you why. And I hate to say it that way because I know.
Say I'm wrong. Go ahead.
You are not the police of the church. Like, your job is to go there and to fellowship. Your job is to go there and learn about the word. Your job is to give. as a sacrifice to the Lord. Your job is not to be pointing out who's doing this, that. Like, what are you there for, and what are you focusing on? That's my opinion. No judgment, but that's what I think. But then also to add into it, you're a musician, so you don't ask for tips before the show starts. You ask for tips after you do your performance.
Actually,
So,
hold on.
Why you ask for tips after you do the performance? Because they've seen, because you've shown what you have to offer and how it benefits them, and they get the opportunity to support.
Yeah, on secular stuff though.
So
my performance
I don't have a problem
performance
with them.
As a blues player.
I don't have a problem with the offering being after a nice song, because they've shown that they can.
But that's not their purpose.
They can pay their bills.
You're missing. I think you kind of, to me it sounds like, and I promise you, I'm just trying to understand. So to me it just sounds like you're saying that like the church should just exist with no money portion of it. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that it doesn't take money to run a church.
Because regardless,
what I'm saying, hear what I'm saying. All right, and this is not necessarily on the local, smaller level. When we have those pastors that claim they need a private jet to do what they do.
Who are these people?
Really? Oh, I can't wait. Oh my, wait. Not even just Creflo Dollar. There's a dozen pastors that claim they require, like it is a necessity to have a private.
So I do know a pastor.
See?
I know a pastor in Georgia, right? He didn't start off with his own private jet, but or helicopter, whatever he has. But he ended up getting one because he ended up having to be the one to preach for his different locations. The only way for him to get from one to the next was to have that type of transportation. Now, for me, if you could afford to get that type of transportation because the people have requested you to be somewhere at a particular time, then I don't think nobody should have anything to say about pastors that are doing that. Because if the people are demanding and requiring you to be somewhere, and you have the finances to be able to be there for them, and they're giving their money because they want you to be there at these services, and that's the transportation that he needs in order to get there. Because to me, this particular pastor, I have seen him, I have heard him, and the way he delivers his messages, it's phenomenal. Almost on the lines or like TD Jakes.
All right, well then I didn't know who this person is.
He does have a jet. But
I didn't know who this is though, because I have yet, and maybe this is my ill fortune, because I have yet to hear a pastor where I was like, you know what, that man need a private jet. I want him here now. So maybe that's my ill fortune. That I have yet to hear someone I felt
people don't say that man needs
jet.
A private jet. But if they want him at the 11 o'clock service, and then at the 12 o'clock service, and then at the 1 o'clock service, and the only way he can get there for the people is to get a jet, then why are you going to be on him because he chose to get a jet so he can be there because people want him at the 10, 11, 12, and 1. Only way for him to get to the different locations is if he gets a jet. So why should somebody, why look at him like that? Because he...
And maybe this is me.
Because God blesses us. What if God wanted him to have? What if that private jet was written in his story? All right.
Here's my opposition. Here's my opposition to this one. And maybe because I know too much about how this works, but chartering a private jet for a specific situation is different from owning a private jet for that.
So are you saying this because
you want your pastors to be suffering financially? That's how you're most.
I'm not saying about suffering financially.
Okay.
I'm not talking about that.
We're clear on what you're trying to say.
I'm not saying they need to be, suffering financially. But, the concept of them.
But what does that got to do with my salvation or your salvation?
Nothing.
I mean, what does that got to do?
So here's what it has to do with me
what
and
does
mine.
that got to do with anything?
Here's what it has to do with me and mine, though. And this is, I guess, attesting to the damage the church hurt in my situation. Attending a church where the first calling to offering is $500. And you, like I said, that was the starting point. It went up from there. The calling to the offering was $500. What am I supposed to do with that?
Are you required?
What you're supposed to do is you pray to God and you see that calling was for you.
Wait, Sherelle,
those callings ain't always for you.
Are you required to give that, or are they asking you to?
That was level 1. That was level 1. There was no level 0. No, technically.
You're missing
all right, so technically you can give whatever you want to give.
Okay, then.
But the mentality of the frowned upon thing of you can't match that.
Here's what I have a problem with. It's like going to Chick-fil-A and asking them why don't they have steak. Some of the things that you mentioned today, like if you have a certain preference, go to the place where the preference is being met. So you want to know where your money is being going to. That's perfectly fine. There are churches who give that to you, and you want a church who gives you a personal experience. That's fine. There's churches that give you that. You know what I'm saying? You want one where you can ask questions. That's fine.
So
too.
which one's the right one then?
Huh?
Which one's the right one?
The right one is that's why like I said, there's always, you have a responsibility to see that you're fed, and if these things are what makes you fed, go to the spot that does that for you. And you can't get mad at this spot because they run their thing a certain way and they run theirs a certain. It's just not.
So then beyond that, my question always becomes, if they're running it differently, then I guess my preference. One, who knows if my preference is the correct way or not? And then two, if they're running it differently than my preference, who's to say that the rest of the information that's being circulated is correct in that religious institution?
So, personally,
there are certain things that are just valid. There are certain things that are right. There are certain things that are valid. Like you have to find what fits for you. Period. And we know that it's right. If you are a Christian, we know that it's right. If you are believing in Christ and they are speaking on Christ and they're doing all these other little carnal things that really don't mean much at the end of the day, you got to see that you're being fed. That's all. It just is what it is. But you can't go to this place or you know they serve these things and get mad because you went there and they don't have what you was wanting. Quit going to Chick-fil-A if you want a steak dinner.
Yeah, the Chick-fil-A reference makes sense, though. It does.
Yeah,
it does. It does make sense.
You want some place that's gonna tell you where your money goes? That's perfectly fine. Go to a place that tells you where your money goes.
I got you. I just don't think that churches should be making a profit on the congregation.
A lot of those churches, and I will agree with you that there are some churches that try to make a profit off of congregations. I've been at churches where they have made commitments and then they expect the people to meet their commitments because what they thought was going to happen didn't actually happen. So then they go to the people for the people to cover what they thought was going to happen.
Right.
Now, I don't I do not agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. But when it comes down to money to support the church needs money to be supported. And I don't think that there should be these multiple offerings. I don't think that they should give you an amount that you need to give. I actually do think that if you say, all right, we need X, Y, and Z because this didn't happen, and ask the people to help you reach that, I get that right there, because there are some obligations, like say like the boiler broke and they needed to be able to cover the expense, and they could ask the congregation. I mean, you're going to church there, you have expectation.
That'd be cool, right? To have like a common goal. Hey, in this situation, we need this. Let's do this. But to just be like
right, that request, yeah. But some of these churches, I do agree with, some of them do that, and that's not necessary. But for the churches, I mean, I strongly believe in tithing and giving your offering, because I mean, I just personally believe in giving back and not always being the one with the handout.
Okay.
And not only that, but I do believe biblically in tithing and giving offering.
So when you have a church that gives money to, like, they bring in money to give to other people, though.
If you go back in your Bible and you read about the tabernacle back when David was trying to build the temple for God, they brought all their gold, their silver, their valuables. They brought it and gave it so that the temple could be built. They contributed, and they contributed significantly according to each household and what was in each household. So that's a lot of where they get this idea of bringing things to the church and giving from your home, because biblically, when they established the temple, when they built the temple, that is what they did. So given that, they take that understanding and they utilize that in the churches, because in order to be able to make some of these edifices and for you to have AC instead of it being hot, and you ain't got no AC in the church, you got to realize that it's money. Okay, everybody wants convenience. Everybody wants the pastor to do this and that. Nobody wants, the pastor. I don't care what nobody says. The pastor. I don't care if the pastor ain't full time. That pastor should be receiving something. The musicians need to receive something.
They're working.
Right, and not only that, but you have to interrupt your life to stop, to take time out to actually prepare for some of these things. And it don't just take a couple of hours one day. I'm talking about like hours throughout the week during your regular activities. You got to do all this stuff. So people don't see that. They enjoy the benefits of what actually happens in the church. Yeah. But I think people need to stop all of this. Just like, who was it? Mount Ararat. When Pastor Curtis got his Bentley, get off of Pastor Curtis with his Bentley, because you know what Pastor Curtis is? He's a well-established, accomplished individual. Do I know him? No, but I give him much respect. Why? Because when he gets up there on Sunday mornings and delivers that word, it is well thought, it is well prepared, and it feeds the people. But not only that, but he has gone to school. He has gone through his different levels. He has obtained his degrees. He has his own business. He has made wealth for himself. He has become wealthy. If the man wants to get a Bentley, get off of him and let him have his Bentley. I don't care what church he may be pastoring. The man don't just pastor a church. He works. So why be on him and act like he's taking the church's money? He ain't taking that church's money. Come on, y'all. Like, y'all gotta, like, people gotta stop doing that. If the pastor chooses to get something nice, so what if it came from the money he saved up from working at the church? He saved that money up, got him a car. Because when I get my car, I don't want nobody, people are naturally gonna hate on you, but don't always
give your tithes. But I seen you in that new car, girl.
Exactly. Man, miss me with all that.
Makes sense.
You know, though, I
I
mean-
was upset when people went after Pastor Curtis like that. Because I was like, man, whenever I get to that point in my life, I want to be able to get me, I don't like Bentleys, but, you know.
I get it. I don't get it. But,
I
all right,
wanna
sorry.
give me
I
something
just
that
feel
The
like
I
you're
last
can
managing
time-
somebody
myself.
else's blessing. Like, who are you to manage somebody else's blessing? Because some people are really doing the right thing. Some people are really working in integrity. And so, like, you'll never know.
So you should
And
get
some
money for
people-
integrity?
Some people are teetering. Sometimes you getting it right. And sometimes, just like because you're human, you mess up. And then, okay, I'm back on track again. Who's to say when you are doing things the right way and you're not there? You don't know when they repented. It's not your business. That, like, I don't
think
know.
it's that, Sherelle. I think it's just more or less like, it's like, you know, whether we want to admit it or not, church is a job. It is a job. It has to, it's treated as a job. You get a,
What's the reward supposed to be, though?
W-9,
Whatever the Lord wants the reward to
a
be.
1099 form for it. It's,
I sing at church. I prepare myself for days
Right.
in advance. I have to go and buy an outfit. I have to get myself dressed. I might have to call off work. I'm exuding
Oh.
energy when I'm up there.
Brandon,
And you mean to tell me I'm supposed to be like, no, I don't want the blessing he gave me today.
it's not even, it's like, okay, so you had said that the pastor had a jet, and like, you know, but also the requirements that are put upon him as a pastor, nobody knows if he has a regular job or not. Like, if he had a regular job on top of, he has to prepare.
No. I can't wait to share with you some of the personal interviews of these pastors I'm talking about. Because there are people, there's one pastor, he said, like, hey, look, he said to the reporter that because he's a seer and there's so many demons about that he doesn't want to be on regular flights because he sees demons in other people, so he needs a personal jet. And that's the reason why he got to have a personal jet, like, because he doesn't want to be sitting with people that, you know, that are having demons attached to them. And
Maybe it's true.
well,
Some people have those giftings and callings, and it's just not, you know.
well, then that's where he needs to be, though. It's not away from the demons. He's trying to get them out.
So let's do final thoughts, because I got.
I know, I'm about to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Brandon, what time did you get up this morning? I mean, what time do you get started with your day?
6:30.
Brandon, what's your
I
final
get up
thought?
at 5.
Final thought, Brandon.
Final thought is this. The last time I did a gig for money for a church, I was 16. And since then, I've been doing it because I just wanted to help the people out. And not that I've been turning down money, but it's just, you know, hey, you invite me to, I guess, be some sort of minister to whatever, which I never feel like I am. Like, you know, I just don't think about making some huge profit. You take in a couple $100, fine, but private jets for, you know, helping the people reach their enlightenment, I just can't get behind. Like, I just for real, like, you shouldn't be a millionaire to get to heaven.
I think you're associating things incorrectly.
Hey, I want to learn. If there's something else, if there's something else, if there aren't people making millions of dollars to help people to heaven, then teach me something.
I think Brandon is jealous of people with private jets.
I don't want a private jet.
Brandon, you hating? Why you hating?
My God, if you knew me, you know I want a private cruise ship. I don't even want private jets.
All right, so I just made money in a church on Saturday.
Go pick me up in your private jet. Let's go
Because
somewhere.
God has provided this opportunity for me and this purpose for me and this ministry for me, and I'm going to accept the blessings that He gives me. So I want to throw that out there.
I've made money, and I've made money for others, because you know that I manage people. I've made for others doing church gigs. It has happened,
and that's wonderful. You can conduct your spirituality the way you choose to.
Okay.
Me, however, I don't have no problem with that, and I don't, and other people's blessings really aren't my business.
The devil's money. I'm playing with you. I don't feel that.
If he got that jet, then that's not my business.
Creflo Dollar.
So, but as far as church hurt goes, I want to say, start being more inclusive. I would pray that the churches become, and the members would become more inclusive. And that doesn't mean giving people 1 million hugs and kisses all on their face. And you don't gotta be so over the top and extra, but stop giving it that us versus them feel, and include others, and stop making people feel that God is unreachable.
Yeah, that shit.
Show them how to seek Him.
Church politics needs to stop.
Show them how to seek Him even when you're not around. And for those who have experienced church hurt, you have to get through it. You have to find forgiveness. If you want to be whole, you have to find forgiveness, and you have to continue seeking God, and you have to continue working in the gifts that He is giving you. You can't use that as an excuse to not be a servant. So, all I have to say.
It is okay to seek help outside of the church. It is okay to see a therapist. I know I did. I had to go and talk out some of the very things that I went through. And I had to sort out my church hurt. And I came, to that conclusion that it wasn't more or less church hurt. It was people hurt. And that because of that, my relationship with God it came to a standstill, and I couldn't understand why. And that's why I had to go seek the help that I did. And it's okay to, to do that. That being said, also like Sherelle said, you have to find a church that fits you and what, there are so many different churches out here. And there are so many different styles that people have, whether it's a mega church, whether it's, over a smaller church. Like, I feel that you have to find one that works for you. And this is one reason why right now Alicia does not have a church, is because I have not found a home yet.
Who wants to adopt me? Because I don't have one right now either.
But that's okay. I'm going to keep looking. I'm going to look.
You gonna pay your tithes?
As long as it's up to me.
You gonna pay your tithes out?
I will. Apparently, I gotta wait and see how good the performance is.
They told you if you pay your tithes, you may one day get a jet.
Right. Where? How many Chuck E. Cheese tokens I need to get my jet?
You get there.
Get my praise tickets. Get my jet.
About that.
Go ask Chucky. Go ask Chucky. Go ask Chucky. He'll let you know.
Final thoughts for Hillary.
So there are so many.
Uh-oh.
All right. So, can y'all hear me? Or did I freeze?
I hear you, but... Your face is like the worst. You're like,
Wait a minute, did I freeze again? Am I
you
freezing?
did. Like, yep, it freeze right there.
What? Why? I don't know why it's doing that though. Okay, am I frozen out?
No, but you chopped
You are skipping a lot. Sorry, sir. Go ahead. I can hear you. Go ahead. Give the word. Apparently, the devil's in play. Go ahead.
Apparently. So my final words are kind of the same lines of what Leisha said. Your hurt is not necessarily from the church, it's from some established relationships. And you need to determine whether or not your relationships are healthy, emotionally healthy connections. And we have to be careful, period, point blank. I think this current climate right now it reveals who we are because we're not able to be around each other and with each other as much as we would have. So that disconnect, and if you're even able to remain remotely healthy without some of the things that you used to have in association with church, I think you need to take note to that.
All right. Well,
And realize that you need to establish healthy.
I'm always open to that. I want to find the best path for myself. So, hey, if one of y'all or somebody else listening, has a suggestion for a path, I'm ready to jump on it.
Hey, I'm in therapy for my church hurt and life hurt. Amen. One nice song, check out People by Jonathan McReynolds. It talks a lot about that kind of thing that we've been talking about tonight.
Hey, make sure you post that in the comments. I want to hear that.
I will. And I think
the last album that Tamela Mann did talks about a lot about putting her religion down because she was hurt.
Right.
So Franklin, I think it was his 2017 album. He talks a lot about religion and how it, things have hurt him. So the other two artists.
Look up emotionally healthy spirituality. That is emotionally
healthy spirituality. All right.
Correct. And they have different phases in that. But I think people also need to know that there's not just one church. You grow just like when you go through college, you go from elementary school, you go to middle school, you go to high school, you go to college, you go to grad school, you get your doctorate, and you continue to grow, you get certifications, you get things like that's the same. It's natural, but the same is in a spiritual. So don't ever, if you're ever in a place where you feel like I can't leave this place, even though you feel the growth in you, then you're probably supposed to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, we have to grow. We grow as people. We grow until the day we die.
All right. Well, I want to find where I'm supposed to be. Because right now, I'm not where I'm supposed to be.
My name.
Yeah. Right. Well, I want to lastly say,
Avengers Assemble.
Lastly, I want to say, just make sure you shift your focus on why you're really there. Like, we're there to focus on God and our relationship with Him and strengthening that. And so if you keep your eye on the prize, seek ye first the kingdom, if you do that, everything else will fall into place. All right, we want to thank our special guest, Hillary.
Thank y'all.
Hey, I'm so happy she was on this thing today.
Absolutely.
Thank
she can join us anytime.
Yes.
Join us
We got
anytime.
some other topics.
Right.
Yeah.
Shout out to Alicia Page.
Even though she has yet to change her whole Zoom name.
It
She'll
won't
say
let me,
Alicia
Staring at
Terrell.
Alicia Terrell at the bottom of the screen.
it won't let me change it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
a lie.
Shout out to Crazy B Mike.
The
who
devil's
does
a liar.
anything. The devil's a liar. That's what you
The
got to say.
devil's a liar.
All right, and I'm Sherelle Unique. This is the Surgeon's Perspective. We out. Bye.
Yes.